July 8, 1972. Pilot Steve Ritchie leads a flight of 4 F-4 Phantoms, call sign Paula, on combat air patrol over North Vietnam. As part of Operation Linebacker, the war's biggest bombing campaign, their mission is to protect B-52s from MiGs. On this mission, the Americans are able to tap into the enemy's command and control network, an intelligence coup that's driving the success of Linebacker.
They could hear the controller that was talking to the pilot, they could hear what the pilot was saying, and so you knew where they were, what they're looking at, and where they're coming from.
Steve Ritchie and Paula Flight are heading towards Hanoi. Suddenly, combat control crackles in his helmet. MiGs are in the air, somewhere below. Ritchie drops down to search for the enemy. He can't find them. They could be anywhere. Then another warning comes over the radio.
I got a call indicating that they had us in sight and they were cleared to fire. And that information, at best, was about 40 to 60 seconds old. And we had no visual. So that gets your attention. We passed canopy to canopy about 1,000 feet from each other, doing about 600 miles an hour each, closing at about 1,200 miles an hour. Just subsonic. I could actually see the pilot in the cockpit.
Ritchie knows there's another MiG in the air. They've split up, setting a trap for him. The first MiG has streaked past Ritchie. If he turns to follow, the second MiG will be on his 6, but Ritchie doesn't bite. He drops altitude and waits for the second MiG to show his hand. And he does. Now Ritchie makes his move. He pulls into a hard left turn. 6.5 Gs plaster him into his seat. The two planes are now angling towards each other in what pilots refer to as the high crossing position. In order for his missile to get a lock, Ritchie needs to get behind the MiG. He rolls to the inside, causing the MiG to shoot past him. Ritchie's now on the MiG's tail. It's a brilliant move. Ritchie pulls hard right out of the roll and gets a radar lock. It then takes 4 seconds for the radar to feed the information to the missile.
1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,004, which is a long time. Squeeze the trigger, nothing happened. It's another 1.5 seconds until the missile comes off the rail.
Ritchie commits a second missile. Pilots often ripple-fired the Sparrow because of its failure rate.
First missile went through the center of the fuselage of the MiG. Second missile went through the fireball.
The explosion sends a wall of debris hurtling through the air. Ritchie's headed right for it. He rolls up to steer clear. It's too late. Debris punches into his left wing, gouging the skin. Ritchie clutches the stick. The big Phantom shrugs off the insult. Paula Flight rejoins and heads for home. Udorn, Thailand. When they arrive, the celebration begins.
I actually flew a couple of victory rolls over the field, which is kind of traditional. And we had a party at the club that night you would have enjoyed.
Steve Ritchie is on the cusp of greatness. He has tied renowned veteran pilot Robin Olds with 4 MiGs to his credit. Ritchie needs just one more kill to join the coveted ranks of American fighter aces. But the quest could cost him his life. August 28, 1972. Steve Ritchie leads a flight of 4 F-4 Phantoms, call sign Buick. Their combat air patrol mission is winding down when he gets word of MiGs in the air. As flight lead, Ritchie's Phantom is equipped with a little black box that makes a big difference in air-to-air combat against MiGs. The APX-81, officially known as the Combat Tree, or just tree to airmen. Tree is an IFF, Identification Friend or Foe transponder system. All military aircraft carry transponders that send and receive identification information to air traffic control and friendly planes. But Tree is unique. It can read the enemy's transponder. Tree-equipped Phantoms can tell if a blip on their radar is a MiG and shoot them out of the sky from miles away. Ritchie has used technology to get in position, but he must get a visual before he can fire.
Under those circumstances, the cardinal rule is to never fire if there's any chance there could be a friendly in the forward firing sector.
The aircraft hurtle in, their closing speed a blistering 1,500 miles per hour. Ritchie fires 2 missiles, but at these staggering closing speeds, the missile can't maintain radar lock. They streak away harmlessly. The MiGs take no evasive action. They're focused on reaching the sanctuary of Hanoi's anti-aircraft defenses. Ritchie must make his kill soon. The MiGs roar head-on past the climbing F-4s. Ritchie orders a left brake. They swing around 180 degrees and zero in on the MiG's tail.
I'm now supersonic, doing about 1.2 Mach. They're still subsonic. And I got a radar lock on, fired 2 missiles. The first one appeared to go by on the right side of the MiG, and he broke left, which solved the problem for the 4th missile.
The MiG's abrupt maneuver slows him down. He drifts into the Sparrow missile's effective range. The missile's warhead detonates on impact. Steve Ritchie becomes the first Air Force pilot ace of the Vietnam War.
The number 2 MiG, in that flight of 2, did a wave down to the ground, and I elected not to try to go after that MiG due to fuel. And, you know, I've debated that in my mind many, many times over the years, whether or not we should have tried that.
Ritchie and Buick flight head south for friendly airspace as word reaches the airbase at Udorn, Thailand. The Air Force now has an ace.
We came in and actually did a little air show over the field.
In this rarely seen interview, Steve Ritchie recounts the mission.
Picked them up high at 11 o'clock on almost a head-on pad, and from there maneuvered into 6 o'clock and fired a few missiles and was lucky enough to get a kill.
Operation Linebacker thunders on. The Paris peace talks resume in late August. The devastating air assault has taken a heavy toll on North Vietnamese transportation, oil supplies, and power generation.
The North Vietnamese simply did not think we had the will, or our president had the will, to bring the force of our attack air down upon them. Miscalculated.
On October 22nd, North Vietnamese concessions in Paris lead to a cessation of bombing strikes over the 20th parallel, but the talks break down again 2 months later. On December 14th, President Nixon sends Hanoi an ultimatum. Come back to the negotiating table within 72 hours, or the bombing resumes. There's no response from Hanoi. On December 18th, Operation Linebacker 2 commences, and B-52s head north. 200 B-52s, half the Strategic Air Command, are committed to the fight. By December 29th, the big bombers have flown 729 sorties and dropped over 15,000 tons of bombs. The North Vietnamese return to the negotiations, and on January 23, 1973, a peace agreement is signed.